Hello and welcome, Kings, to another Heartstorm call. Today, we're going to be coming in and dropping the gems. We're going to be diving deep and, we're going to have a really fun conversation. We were talking about why we should even talk about today, since last time we spoke. And we concluded that a good conversation for us to have today would be about the ego, and how to really master the ego, how to have that balance as well with that energy and hear a little bit more about how you guys go about finding the balance within your own lives. Um, so with that being said, welcome, Kings, welcome. I love seeing your faces. We are here, and we have the South and the North represented well. We love to see it. We love to see it. Okay, perfect. So let's dive in. Is that topic cool for you guys, or like it was just an idea, so I wanted to like run it by you guys and see how you guys felt about that. Does that work? Cool. Okay, awesome. So let's dive in. Let's dive in. So, this came up for me because I've noticed this a lot recently where um people come to me and tell me like, oh my God, like you're so humble, like you're so down to earth. Um, and And I've been thinking about that. I'm like, why do people keep coming up to like, are people not like this? Like, what's going on? But I think it's because I have a pretty good check of my ego. Like, I like to keep that in check as much as possible. Um, I, um, I believe that most people in today's world are in two different um camps, let's just call or buckets. Like one bucket is and I think is like very extreme in this way too. So just something to keep in mind. So I think that one a big group of people are in the bucket. What's up, Brian? I think a big group of people are in the bucket of not getting enough recognition, and because of that, not feeling really well about it. And then there's the other bucket of people who are getting a lot of recognition for the work they've done or the person they've become. And I believe I land on a lot of recognition, and it's not always been that way, but now and the last few years I've been in the season where I'm constantly getting compliments and people are, always telling me, Carlos, you're amazing, like all that stuff. And I've been doing the work to make sure that I receive those compliments, but always remind myself of where my gifts and my abilities come from. To me, that's from God, right? So um that's personally how I go about making sure that I stay humbled and I stay grounded when people are, giving me all this feedback and telling me how amazing I am. But I also know there's the other side of things, right? Where you're not getting enough recognition at all, and then you feel like you're worthless kind of thing. Because recognition is I think an important part of life. But yeah, like that's kind of where the idea came from. So I'm curious as to like what comes up for you guys, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I can get us started. After you said that. What's really coming up for me, Carlos, and family is I feel like I feel like a lot of times, uh, in regards to ego and in regards to recognition, a lot of times I'm my first person giving myself recognition. But a lot of times, like what'll happen, I'm noticing is I'm being a badass. I'm getting all this shit done, and I'm not recognizing my own self. Like it doesn't even matter how much somebody else is like telling me, "Oh, you're good. You're doing this and that and the other thing." And like I'm noticing when there's something. So there's kind of it comes twofold. The first thing is like I've been really doing the work to just show up and do and put in my all regardless. And then whatever my all is for that day or that moment or that hour or even that minute, I give myself the grace that I trust myself and I have like a clear conscience that I did do all that I could do in the moment. That's how I've been living my life day by day and moment by moment. Whether it's like a 5 minute moment or whether it's an hour long moment, that's been really helpful. And then the second fold on this is like just I'll give you an example. Earlier today, I finished a tool that I had started creating last week. I started creating it like 4 or 5 days ago. I finished creating the tool, and I was so proud of myself. And I'm like, "Fuck, this can't even wait!" And I'm like, "Ah, I gotta show this to my boys." So like literally immediately, I'm like, "Ah, I need that like share." I need to like share it with somebody else. And I guess that comes with like wanting to feel that recognition. Um, but that's kind of what's coming up for me. So it's both like twofold, like external recognition or validation, if you want to call it that. That's what I'm choosing to call it. But specifically the internal battle of like feeling like I'm good enough, that's what's really coming up for me.
If y'all don't jump on this right now, we're gonna have some issues because is dropping some gems. Like, I almost called you Alex. Sean, go ahead.
Well, what's showing up for me is that, I hear, look, like there's a whole bunch of different personality and characteristic traits that we can choose here on Earth. And I know that even though we don't quite remember, we come in with a somewhat of a blueprint of characteristics and personalities and action paths that we can take that would be a little bit more in alignment with our energy sequence of how we came into this reality. So, with that being said, it's like I've really come to find that it's not, for me, it's not about fighting my ego. It's it's knowing that it's like imagine Batman. He's got like this Batman belt on and he has all these tools. So it's like I'm Batman, and on my tool belt are ego or personalities and characteristics. And depending on how I choose my sequencing, depending on how I want to choose my actions, I can choose from these different personalities. So I feel like a big disconnect is that in our reality, an important saying is know thyself. And if we don't know ourselves, then we'll just choose randomly from these, the scroll bar of like personalities, characteristics, and actions that we can take. And as a result, it turns into a really unhealthy relationship with really isn't what is our self, but what is part of this adventure here. So it's like realizing that we're bigger than this ego, and we have these programs that we can choose called personalities. And when we act accordingly and we know ourselves and we choose the right ones, I know that a lot of discordant egos, so to speak, or personalities or characters is because we're not living into what we maybe are supposed to be, so to speak. And then it creates this huge inner conflict and external conflict too. And the perception is like, I need to kill my ego. I need to kill my ego. Well, if we kill our ego literally, like we'll kill our body, because you can't be here without an ego unless you go sit in the woods and stare at a tree. And even then, that's still a slight ego, because it's like, okay, like my personality as I sit here and I stare at a tree, it's still a personality. So it's like I feel like we gotta put away our swords and put them in our sheath and understand what this thing really is. And just like in the Art of War, it says Sun Tzu said that you need to know your enemy. And if we don't know our enemy, then we don't know ourselves. Um, and the last thing I want to mention is that in the Art of War, it doesn't talk about how to punch. It doesn't talk about how to create like a bomb. It talks about how to outwit your enemy. The best warrior is the one that never has to fight. So when we learn how to take that into account, we don't have to necessarily fight ourselves all the time or this ego. We can learn to understand it and understand ourselves, and in that we know ourselves. And I feel like, and I know that our experience here is richer, and we have more to offer, and we're more impactful in our experiences and our interactions.
Shit, we're 10 minutes in. Y'all cooking like this?
The grill's on, bro.
Hey,
Shit.
Alex, I have a question on what you just said.
Yeah,
Go
go
ahead.
Can
go
you
ahead.
elaborate more on the context of what you were saying, the art of war? I really like
Yeah.
that, but I just didn't get the reference.
Yeah, so there's a really good book called The Art of War. It's by Sun Tzu, and it talks all about knowing your enemy, knowing yourself. The best warrior is the one that never has to fight. It's really a short book that if it sounds interesting, I really encourage you to read it, because it's not too long and it really goes into how we can. It's like we're constantly at battle here with ourselves, and then we externalize that in our experience. So when we learn how to master the art of war, which is this war that goes on inside of us with our ego and these personality traits, then we start to not have to battle anymore. We don't have to fight. We don't have to war. We don't have to do these things anymore. Sure, like there might be challenges. Sure, there might be a little conflict. It's not going to look perfect, right? There's things that show up, but we don't have to go to war. We can come with diplomacy, and we can figure out a better way to go about war, which is really to me just an anagram for raw. Because if I go to war, I'm really just raw. And if I'm truly raw, I'm authentic. And if I'm truly authentic, I have my sword in my sheath, it's on my hip, but I rarely draw it because it's a last resort. So we don't want to go to war with ourselves, and we don't really want to go to war with the world because it's not really a winnable battle. It's a never-ending cycle. And again, there's battles and challenges, obviously, but at the end of the day, we want to avoid the conflict, and we want to be the master of war, which means that we really don't have to go and fight. We can use our words and diplomacy and actions to offset that energy and create a different level of experience.
Thank you. I like that a lot. I like that a lot. I really gotta go look into that book.
Yeah, man, I think you'll enjoy it. It's really cool.
Yeah, I heard about it before, but I never really, asked about it or looked into it. But
So,
thank you,
so
man. I really like that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's another knock, man. It's another knock. It's good.
it's funny too because Cameron Garcia, he commented on here. There's a book called the Word of Art. And what's funny is that I was introduced to the Word of Art first, but I misread the title and got the Art of War as an audiobook. And I was like, this is the wrong author, but I already paid for it. So I ended up listening to both, like the Word of Art, which I highly recommend. He talks about internal resistance and getting over that inner conversation, and then the Art of War by Sun Tzu. That's a very old, really powerful piece of wisdom that I highly recommend checking out both. But I love that the two are going at the same time. We're talking about both books. That's powerful. That's powerful, Sean. I really love that share. I really love that share. What else is coming up for you, Kings?
By the way, hey Cameron, thanks for joining us.
Jose, I see you
Yeah,
commercial.
Jose, you look like you want to say something, bro.
Yeah, I was gonna go.
Well, you said a lot of the things that I already thought of, like how we are in this world and we have an ego, but like for a while when I was a little bit younger, a couple years back, it was a big thing that I was like hearing people talk about ego death, but then I found out later on that same thing, like as just as you said, like it's not about killing the ego, but learning how to work with it and knowing how to use it. So that's something that I've been learning, and like the way that maybe it shows up for me, it's like with my current situation, it's kind of like I've had to like kind of start over again from scratch because before like I was able to work and have things paid off on time, and I was working with family and I still had more people around me. Now I'm kind of figuring things out on my own. So it's like, man, I had all these experiences doing these things. Like I used to be able to like just like manage somewhat of a team working with my dad, like, and like I saw this flow of money that I used to be making back then, and now like since I worked for a family business, I don't have like a lot of references, like and I'm transitioning into like finding now like what is it that I want to do in life, and so it's been a really, like you said, knowing thyself is really important, and kind of learning what it is I'm good at doing, and like you said, the skills that I came here on Earth with is kind of what I'm on this kind of discovering again now currently, like so yeah, that's kind of what I have to share. Again, you said a lot of the things that I would have said, Sean. Yeah, it's something you gotta learn how to master. It's like I'm fencing with myself, and that's kind of how I see ego.
Yeah, I love that, bro. I love that. And yeah, Sean, you're gonna have to pull up with a visual of the sword. Like now, that's just too good. All right,
Well,
come on.
it's true, right, though, guys? Because
It's true.
this realm, like, if we're really honest, gang, and men, because we're all men here, this realm is really harsh. And as Bruce Lee said, is it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. We as men need to be strong. We need to know how to set boundaries, and we need to know how to say no and stand up for what's sacred and protect. Whether we like it or not, whether we know it or not, we really need to take on that role because that's just part of our role here. And when we do that, we create a different level of experience, and it's like, Jose, you're talking about, having to reset it. Like, that's a good thing, it's a good thing to reset because when you realize that you're at nothing again, well, there's everything to gain. So, and on a side note, if you need a reference, man, you can always write down me and Alex. We'll always vouch for you, man. You've done work for us. You've worked with us. I'm more than happy to give you a reference if you need to write us down, man. No problem.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys.
Classics. I love this. I love this. So something that's coming up for me as I hear you guys speak, and I think this has a lot to do with, being a man, is pride. I think that when it comes to ego, and when it comes to being a man, pride is a big part of it. Like when it comes to respect and pride is like a really big part of showing up as a man. And I think that sometimes pride can be damaging, though, if it's on the extreme. If we're allowed to be like dangerous. Pride can be good, of course. Like I'm proud of where I live. As you can see, I can celebrate that, but I also pride can be dangerous. So I see Sean's hand is coming up. I knew this was gonna start like some stuff because yeah, it's so powerful. Go on.
Well, if you had more to say, keep going. I just wanted to let you know that, like, I want to speak when you're finished. So if you,
Yeah, I'm good. That's definitely what I wanted to bring up. You can go
okay,
ahead.
okay, cool. So, you know, pride is, you know me, Carlos. I'm really big on definitions. I'm very big on definitions because there's some of the access codes here. So I feel like pride is even said to us as one of the seven deadly sins. So I feel like I want to, with you men here, I want to switch that word because it's like valor and it's honor. It's like I wake up every day and I have honor. I tread lightly, but I step firmly. I don't hurt people. I keep others in mind with my actions. I make sure to take care of what's important. And I feel like it's skirting on the edge of honor. It's almost like a battle, and what needs to be done is done. It takes honor and it takes valor and it takes grit. So I feel like and I know we throw words around in our society, which is fun a lot of the times, but also it's like pride is one of the seven deadly sins. So I feel like I want to rename that energy that you're talking about as honor and valor because we stand up tall, we keep our sword in our sheath, unless of course we defend ourselves, which men, we have an absolute sacred right to defend ourselves and what is sacred, and that's never wrong. That's very important. It's important to know very good defense. And I feel like this is a huge part of our honor and our valor. We don't go attacking people unless it's warranted. But for the most part, we defend because we have honor and we have valor and we want to move with diplomacy. And we don't want to create unnecessary conflict. There already is enough conflict here, guys. It's by the bushel. You don't even have to look, you don't have to move your eyes. It's everywhere. So I feel like part of the art of war is finding the valor and honor in our heart, which means we carry a giant ass fucking stick and we only use it when we really need it. And we walk slowly and we walk steadily and we walk with peace. But that stick's ready to go if it needs to. I feel like that's a big part of what we need in this reality right now is setting boundaries. And like you're saying, pride or valor or honor, we need to stand up for what's right and know when to say no, or else we get pushed around and we really get our butts kicked, guys. We really do, especially as men, in a lot of different avenues. So we really need to stand up for what's right, know when to fight. Most of the time, it's really not worth it, guys. It's just not because it's just unnecessary conflict. But I'm ready to scrap if it needs to be. I feel like that's a really important motto to have. Someone needs a punch in the face. They need a punch in the face. It's just the way it is. And this is how we create checks and balances in our reality. So people are like, oh yeah, I'm not supposed to do this. And the last thing I'm going to say, I know I'm talking a lot tonight, Carlos. I got a lot on my heart today.
Oh, this is awesome.
Recognition. I feel like we as men, in a certain sense, are logical. We want to get to the root of things. We want to make sure that things that aren't working start to work. So I think a big part of recognition as men is I want to make sure I'm doing well. I want to make sure that I'm being received well. And if I'm not getting feedback and there's no communication, like there are certain aspects of our life where it's like, am I doing the right thing? Is this the best for everyone? Like, and I feel like that feeling for recognition comes from the fact of is like, am I doing well? Whatever it is, whatever our duty is, whatever we're doing, like, am I doing this well? And some external feedback is important so that we know, oh, okay, this is working really well. I'm going to keep doing this, this, and this. And that's where communication is so key, so that we can convey, hey, this is working, this isn't, this is working, this isn't. And then we can continue to work on the right action sequences so that we can create a better existence for ourselves and those around us. That's a big part of this, I feel like, recognition thing. What do you Kings think of the recognition thing, and piggybacking off of what I just said?
I mean, I could definitely say that most men don't get enough of it. Like Father's Day just passed. Like it's a meme about like you see it go online where what happens on Mother's Day. Moms get all the love and dad like gets like a slap in the face and a bundle of socks. So I think it's not hidden that most men don't get recognized enough for all the work that they do. And especially because a lot of the work that men do is in silence. A lot of the men don't go out and share the work that they're doing. They just share results. And results are great. It's awesome to get recognized for the results. Like you published a book, but I think it's also very important to be recognized for the work, for you actually showing up and doing the hard things when you didn't want to. So I personally think that, and I've spoken to many, many men across the world, right? Like I think that most men don't get enough recognition. Like the problem that I mentioned at the beginning where like I'm getting all this recognition is not the case for most men. And I think that that can be very hurtful. And it can make you start, bringing down your self-esteem and start making you feel like you're not valuable. The work that you're doing is not valuable. So that's what I think the current, events when it comes to um recognition in men is at, in my opinion. What do you guys think?
I feel like we live in a really goofy world, bro. And I think that a lot of people really want to do well, and because of their situations it's hard for them to actually do well. It's like they might feel like they're at like a dead end job, or they're not living their passion, or whatever. And then it's like they don't have anything to really share that much because they don't feel good about themselves. And that's why what Carlos, Alex, and I like to teach and remind people of when we're working with them is like, find your intention, find your purpose, whatever it is. And who am I to say what makes people feel good? Like, it doesn't matter what you do. If you could be a guy sitting on the side of the street playing guitar every day, 5 days a week, and you help people smile, that's good enough for them. It's like, again, knowing thyself and picking actions that don't cause suffering and that actually have some sort of impact on people that makes them smile and have a better life. I feel like this is a big part of this recognition thing. I've talked to some people, and it doesn't sound like they have a whole lot to share. And it's like that's when we really got it, and it's painful and it's uncomfortable, but it's like you were saying, Jose, it's like sometimes it's time to hit the reset button, fam. Sometimes it's like, man, like this doesn't work for me anymore. I've really wanted to do X, Y, and Z. I've always wanted to work on this project. I've always wanted to do this. And like that's what makes our hearts sing. And then by the actions that we create, we're going to be continuing to get that recognition or that feedback loop of, hey, you're doing a great job. This is really helpful. And I feel like at the heart, a good man is really feeling for that in part. They want to make sure they're making an impact. The area is safe. They're helping people out as they go, and they know when to ask for help. Jose, I'm glad that you reminded us of that, because it reminds me of the story in the chat. You say you want to do it all on your own. So I played football, soccer. Americans call it soccer. It's football, all right, guys. for all my brown brothers on this call, it's football, all right. So I was on many teams throughout the year, and on some of the teams, there was sometimes a player that always wanted to do it all on their own, and they were really good. They could dribble, they could shoot, but at the end of the day, like when push came to shove and we were really competing, those teams didn't work out. It's because one player wanted to do it all. Meanwhile, he has 9, 10 other players to pass the ball to and to work with. So it's like working with our skills, working with our talent, and knowing when to say, "Hey, I just need help with this. It's not a big deal." Like we create vitality in our being, and we share it with people. And a big part of that is just asking for help. Asking for help. There's no on our own at all. We're all improving ourselves literally so that we can share it with the world. So it's like there is no on our own work. There really isn't. And we work on ourselves. And then in that, like it takes a humble man in this reality and time to know, okay, I need to ask for help and just ask for help. And if the people we're asking for help condemn us and they blah, 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 maybe there's like some tough love, or maybe they're just an ass and we're asking the wrong people for help. Sometimes we're up to big things, guys, and it takes asking the right man or woman for help. But we rest assured, gang, we're not getting through this alone, and we definitely, definitely need each other, gang. I can't stress that enough. We need each other more than ever in this time right now. We really freaking need each other. So I'm gonna remember these words that I spoke right now because we all need to ask for help, even in the little things. Guys, can't do this alone. We're fucking here together, guys, for real. We gotta work together. We have to.
I love it, bro. I agree 100%. I think it takes a village to do anything worthwhile. Um, Thinking otherwise is you're playing yourself, for lack of better words. And I think I want to bring it back to what you were saying before about pride, because I think you did a great job showing us the light side of pride, right? Like showing us how pride can be honorable and amazing, and it really can be. It definitely can be. But I wanna dive deeper because we're doing great on time. So so I'm like, let's dive deeper on the dark side of pride. Because I think that's where most men struggle. And I want to make sure that we honor that time and we go a little bit deeper into that so that we can sit with this. We can really do that shadow work together here in this call, and we can, share some tools and resources that can help us, not stay in that darkness, but actually end those shadows, but be able to use that wisdom to bring it back into the light that you're sharing, Sean. So I want to talk about that pride. I want to talk about the dark side of pride. I know that you mentioned as well, Sean, the importance of being humble. And how, typically those two don't go hand in hand. Like you're either humble or you're gonna be prideful. And I've seen firsthand a lot of men that I care about a lot get really hurt because they allow their pride to stop them from asking for help. And so where do you guys think that comes from? Like how come are more and more men struggling with that? Where they're I think Jose, I see your hand up.
Uh, for me and to anybody who was like just like Sean said, brown brothers who have come from like an ethnic household, for example, with like our fathers who grew up a certain way. Uh, when Sean was speaking, I think it came to me that like, oh, my father had certain expectations as to how I should be, and so that already kind of instilled something in me that like if I'm not doing or meeting those levels of expectation, like it it makes me feel not as good, and so it's like in those times that I do feel like um, I'm not really working with pride in a good way, or it's stopping me from getting to where I need. Like I've had moments that I can see that by having those conversations that are tough to have, like that's all it takes because like I've had moments where I bring up pride now, sorry, because like it's something that I really struggled with, and sometimes it just takes having those conversations to really like let go of that weight in your chest. And like I'm struggling now, but it's just like, yeah, I bring up my father just because he's very like machismo, very machista. So that's something that I bring up, and then maybe it's something other men can relate to.
Bro, That's so real, first of all. You're keeping it 100. I really appreciate it. And it really gets me to think about my father. Or my father was a very prideful man, and it cost him his life. It really did. And honestly, Jose, to bring it back to when we got on the call today, like you said, words that triggered me. I'm not gonna lie, like when I asked you how you were doing, you told me the same words that my dad told me for years. I'm good. And I think those words are incredibly dangerous. Because first of all, we're dismissing everything that's going on in our life. Um, and it can really bubble up to hurting yourself physically, emotionally, or even death. And we're so used to, especially men, especially Latino men, well, but I think it's all men, honestly, that where we have this perception that like I have to, I'm good. Because if I'm not, if they know I'm not good, then they also can't be good either. And I'm not saying like you go and tell everybody like all of your business, but it's important that we're, being honest and vulnerable, and mindful about the words that we're choosing, because sometimes they can remove a lot of the lessons that we can get from it. So like honestly, in the new version of my book, like I talk about this, because and I'm gonna read this. I'm gonna read this because this is literally what's gonna be public in August. So I'm gonna read this straight up because this is exactly where I came back to, Jose, when I asked you early today, like, how are you doing? You're like, I'm good. This is what I thought about. And this is after my dad passed away. And I was, dealing with helping him be buried, cleaning his apartment, all of that. So just so you guys have that foundation. Um, but yeah, I went straight from the airport to the hospital. This is after he already passed away, and I got a call, come fly to New Jersey. Um, and I began cleaning out his apartment, dirty laundry, cigarette packs, pain pills, scratch off tickets. I found old medical reports, liver issues, cancer screenings, thyroid problems, colon concerns, somewhere from 2023 that he was been dealing with all this stuff. I spent 2 weeks with him in 2024, and he never said a word to me. He had told his friend Tomas about the cancer, but not me, and that really hurt. I asked him all the time, like, how are you? How's your health? And he always said the same thing, Jose. Yo estoy bien. I'm good. And he was in pain for years. He was struggling for years. And he always told me, his only son, I'm good. And those three words, I'm good, became the most dangerous lie. Especially for men, we say we're good while quietly suffering, dying on the inside. I had to recognize everything, the cremation, the burial, the funeral arrangements. I had to do all of that, but I still kept going. And that thought really cemented in my life because I really think those words killed my dad, honestly. And I see it all the time. Like I talk to high level men all the time, like in different races, different age groups, and it's typical. And as anytime that I go deeper, you can tell there's more under that I'm good. So I just wanted to share that because that's what came up for me as I heard you speak of that, especially since you brought up your father, because I can definitely resonate with what you're saying. And I can tell you how painful it's been for me to go through that journey, and not be aware that he was suffering for so many years. And even when we spent weeks together, he never shared anything. I would ask him, he would say, I'm good. So I don't know if that's helpful for you, but I hope that shines a little bit of a light on what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's definitely a powerful share. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you.
We never know, bro. We never know what's gonna happen tomorrow. Tell your people your stuff. Tell your family your shit. Like they want to know. Like it might be heavy, it might be rough, it might be painful, but they want to know. Trust me, they want to know. Nobody wants to get to where I was when I'm burying my dad, and I'm like, fuck, I wish I knew.
Yep.
I
Love
I
you,
hardly
brother.
agree on what you said, Carlos, man. I saw a lot of family members of mine also, drink their life away, keep saying that, yo, you okay? Yeah, I'm just drinking to have fun. But they're not drinking to have fun anymore. They're drinking to forget some stuff, forget some sorrows or whatever. And I was there. It's hard when you're that deep. You think you're by yourself when there's a lot of people around you. If that makes sense. And people, like me, I dug myself into a hole where I didn't let nobody in, and nobody out. Eventually, when I crashed out and I finally reached out to the people that I love, and they were down to help. They're always so down to help. But we just
Excited.
in our minds we think they're not there for help, but they're really there. They're there, And it's always good to let someone know how you really are feeling.
Bro,
You never
that's
know.
good. Bro, that's so good. You said it perfectly, bro. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Thanks for that share, bro. Thanks for that share. And my dad was a big alcoholic. He
Sorry
used
for your
alcohol.
loss, Carlos.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. And he used alcohol as a way to numb the pain, like you were saying. Like it was like now, oh, I'm just celebrating living life. No, it got to a point where it was more about putting off the pain. Well, you can't put that off that pain. It's just gonna get bigger. Like alcohol is just it's a little band-aid on a throbbing wound. But I see Sean's hand was up as well. Sean, hear from you, brother.
Yeah, man. A quote is showing up for me, and it's funny because it's sitting in a picture in this room that I'm sitting in right now, and it's a really old picture. And I don't know if you guys can see it. Tell me if you can see it. Can you see that?
It's like a lady, yeah, kind of.
So
Yeah.
it shows a father literally carrying his kid to bed. He's putting him in the top bunk. All right. And it says, nothing is so strong as gentleness. Nothing so gentle as real strength. We think that, telling people our problems is a problem. Now, if we're complaining about some stupid stuff, that's one thing. But we're not talking about stupid stuff, guys. We're talking about like the key codes to how we access our reality. And it takes people think that vulnerability is a weakness. It's actually a strength. If we can actually open up and speak, um, and say what needs to be said and do what needs to be done and think what needs to be thought and feel what needs to be felt, we're actually very strong. And a lot of it is very gentle. It's silent. And when we work with that silence and that energy, we find our strength. And when we truly find our strength, we're actually usually pretty gentle because we're a tidal wave. A tidal wave doesn't need a lot of water in order to move anything. We're literally a tidal wave, but we can ebb and we can flow and we can be gentle. We can course onto the beach, and we can pull ourselves back out, and we can use the force and our strength to literally be gentle, because this world needs gentleness. It doesn't need firmness anymore. There's a lot of hard edges here. So as men, if we can be gentle, but knowing that we have a big stick in our hand, we can really carry our strength and know when to use it. It's all about how we use our energy, and how we can modify what we're doing so that we can meet the expectation and the demand of what we need. We don't always need to be so strong all the time. We can be gentle. I don't think the opposite of strength is weak. I feel like in this context it's gentle. We don't have to push so hard. We can just use the force of what we really truly are, and all the forces around us. And there's already so much momentum. So what I'm really trying to say is that it's really simple. It doesn't take a whole lot of effort or strength to say, hey, like, I need some help. Like, do you have a second? Like, I really need some help. And anyone who really is in your corner will shut the hell up and listen to what you need. And if they don't, and they come with some nonsense, that's okay, guys. It really is. That's where we take our strength and say, this is not the right context. This is not the right man or woman to talk to. And that's okay. Maybe they don't have the space. Maybe they don't have the tools. Maybe they just don't want to put the energy in supporting me. That's okay. That's why we have to know ourselves and really know where and when to ask for help, so that we can use our force or our strength and create a gentleness that helps our life flow. Most things here are pretty simple, actually, when we really break them down. when we really break down the pieces of this reality, 95% of everything in my experience is very simple and there's a complexity to it. So remember that, like, literally asking, like, okay, like, I need help, but I don't want to ask for help. Like, where's the resistance coming from? It's from us. We have to start with us. And if it's external, we're not in the right context. We're up to big things. Some people don't have the bandwidth to think about what we're telling them, and that's okay. We don't need to get mad at them. It's okay. We can use our strength and our gentleness, and we find the right avenue in order to find where we need to ask for help.
Mm, beautiful, bro. This is powerful. And I want to add to what you're saying for sure. Because I think you're bringing up some awesome points. And one of the things that shows up for me as I hear you speak is, being gentle with yourself. I think that there's a big epidemic right now when it comes to self-compassion, when it comes to men, where we're so hard on ourselves. And you go on social media and they tell you to be hard on yourself. And I think there's I might be wrong, but I think there's space for that where you kind of, call yourself out on your bullshit and you hold yourself accountable. I think there is space for that. But I think that it's so important though, and I think most men don't, to make sure that we're gentle with ourselves and we are kind and compassionate with ourselves. And that we are actually making that time to recognize our success. I know Aaron he shared he had to jump off, but like he was sharing, like when you're um recognizing yourself, like, and you're giving yourself that praise. Outside praise is just like a nice cherry on top. Like it's just like, oh, okay, cool. I already praised myself. I know that what I did is amazing. Why? So I already praised myself for it. So anything that comes on top of it is like, I already knew that. Thank you. I appreciate it. So so a lot of people, like, they're shocked when they compliment me and I have this energy. I'm like, oh yeah, thank you. Cool. Like, yeah, I know. It's an awesome book, Carlos. Like, I love your post. Yeah, I know. But I don't say that, I don't say that. I'm humble and I receive it and I'm like, oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. But that's as much as a reaction as you're gonna get from me. It's not gonna be like, oh my God, really? Thank you so much. You're the best. Like, it's more of a like, I appreciate that. And the reason I'm able to do that is because I'm gentle with myself first. I celebrate the work. I don't only celebrate the outcome. Because the outcome and the result, it's alive for like half a second. Like you do the work for 3 months, a year, 10 years sometimes to get a 30-second outcome. You're gonna celebrate for a little bit of time, and guess what? Right afterwards, what's next? And that's what most people do. That's how most people live. They go and they make their whole life. I'm gonna be happy when, like, that bullshit. Where like I'm gonna be happy when I get the book published, when I sign up, like whatever. Like I'm gonna happy when. And typically that's a sure way to play yourself. Because why would you limit yourself to only feel good when at the result when you can feel good throughout the journey? Before and after, right? So like that's how I see it. And I think that a lot of men have a hard time slowing down enough to actually look at the trophy case and be like, "Oh, I fucking did that shit. Good job." Does that make sense? I know you shared a lot, but like, is that making sense? Is that landing for you guys at all?
Definitely.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. So that brings me to my next question. Like, how can we be more gentle with ourselves? Like, what are some ways that you guys go about being compassionate and being kind to yourselves? I'll give you guys the tool that I use and that I've learned, and I understand that there's two voices in my head at all times. There's the adult voice and there's the child voice. And the child voice is the impulsive. That's the one that wants things right now. That's the one that's like emotional. And there's the adult voice, which is more logical, long-term thinking, and they're always communicating with each other. And I think where a lot of people have a hard time with themselves is that they have those two voices constantly fighting with each other instead of letting that adult voice be an adult voice and then letting the child voice be the child voice. And what I mean by that is, and I use this with my clients all the time, speak to yourself the same way that you would speak to a child. a lot of the time, a child that you love, child you love and care. So some kids that we don't love. But the same, and what I mean by this is like, let's say that you have the thought like, I want to eat this pint of ice cream before I go to bed. Most people, and I can say this with confidence, most people are like, you see, you're an idiot, you're a fat ass. Look at you, you're out here going for the ice cream again. You will never say that to a 2-year-old that you love. That's crazy. That's crazy talk. So whenever I hear myself talking to me that way, I'm like, yeah, you would never say this to a student. You would never say this to your godson or your nephew or your future child. You would never say this. So how is this okay for you to say it to yourself? So I always remind myself of that, and I'm able to go back to, okay, let's speak kindly. Understand that that child really wants a pint of ice cream before going to bed, but we can talk to that child better. Like I typically tell myself, like, I know that you want that ice cream. It's really delicious, but it's really not going to help us move closer to our values and goals right now. Like we want to be healthy, want to get good sleep. That's not going to happen if we're eating a shit ton of sugar before going to bed. So you see how I'm able to like really just transform that conversation and make it a lot more of a positive interaction instead of making it like a crash. Does that make sense? So that's how I go about that internal conversation and how I go about being kind with myself. What is your guys's like approach? How do you guys go about having that internal conversation? I'm very curious about this.
Jose, you got something to say?
Kinda like the way that I kind of go about doing that is all affirmations are kind of important to me. I feel like lately I've been more into that and like listening to things while like I'm on a bike ride or I'm on a drive, and as I'm listening to those affirmations, I repeat them to myself and being more mindful as to how I'm speaking to myself and to my body. And with that, another thing that I do is like a little ritual. It's like when you drink water, water is like has a has a has a lot of codes, I guess you could say. So when you speak good words and intentions into your water and then drink that water afterwards, it's like you're kind of like multiplying the effect in a sense. So that's kind of what I do to kind of be gentle with myself, I guess to say. It's kind of like, yeah.
Self-love to the max, my brother. We love to see it. We love to see it. How about you, Sean?
Yeah, I mean, I like to, if I'm being hard on myself, I'll ask myself, is this justified? And if the answer is yes, I'm like, okay, but why? And I'll listen. And if there isn't a good answer, I know that it's that little troll that likes to cause havoc. But if there's a good reason, it's like, oh, okay. So I messed up. I made a mistake. Okay. Do I really need to be super hard on myself? And then I'll go deeper and I'll say, okay, did I hurt anyone? Did I do this? Did I do that? It's just like, well, no. It's like, okay, you don't need to be hard on yourself. What you need to be is focused and not make these same stupid mistakes again. Because some people do really make really crazy mistakes. And quite frankly, guys, they should feel bad about it because some people do some really awful things. And if we do something really awful, like we really hurt people, we should feel awful. That means we have a heart in our chest. And that also means that we need to make it right. So I always like to say, it was like, well, where is this coming from? Like, is this actually like justified? And if it isn't, then it's like, okay, well, this is just some nonsense, and I'm being really, really hard on myself, and like, there's really no reason for it. But there is a distinction, right, Carlos? It's like some people do awful things, and they should feel bad, and they should feel awful, and they should make it right. In both situations, though, we need to make it right. It's like even if it's not awful, it's like, okay, well, how can I make this right? So really talking to those thoughts and talking to those emotions and talking to myself, what I think is myself, and really getting clear on like, but like, why is this showing up in the first place? And then we can put it in its context, and then we can act accordingly. Because again, like some people do things and they're awful things and they should feel bad and they should feel awful. And I hope that they do, because that means they have a heart in their chest, but we need to make it right afterwards.
I'm muted. I love what you're saying, dude. I love what you're saying, and Honestly, what's coming up for me is three words that are very, very powerful that I think we forget sometimes. Because sometimes there's sometimes people who are too nice to themselves, right? They're like they just allow everything. The same thing with parenting. If you just allow a child to do whatever he wants, it's gonna backfire. Like someone's gonna get hurt. A lot of people are gonna get hurt. But I think three words that a lot of people are very scared of is I fucked up. And I think those words are very freeing, and also like it allows you to take ownership of your part and your own suffering. And sometimes we get so caught up on like pointing fingers. It was the system, and it was the way my mom raised me, and it was this movie that I watched when I was 13 years old. Like, and instead of us taking extreme, and I emphasize extreme ownership as to our own role in this suffering and admitting, "Well, I fucked up," and not just staying there, just saying like I fucked up, let me go on my life, but also going the next step, like Sean said, and making amends, like actually fixing what you fucked up. And I think that's the mark of a real man, like not just saying like, "Oh, I fucked up, I'm sorry." That shit don't work. Like just saying I'm sorry don't work. Like I believe that a true apology is changed behavior. And if you're out here just saying sorry to people all the time, like, "Oh my God, he's the guy that acknowledges that he fucks up," but does nothing about it. I think you're playing yourself, and I think you're setting yourself up to ruin a lot of relationships. And people are not going to be about that life. Does that make sense? As Rolando's playing,
Oh yeah.
I love it. Cameron, before we jump off, I would love to hear from you if you're open to sharing what's coming up for you. Before we close the call, we got a couple more minutes, and I'd love to hear from you too.
Bro, I actually just thought of something too when you were talking about extreme ownership, that Jocko Willink book.
You
But
know,
yeah, bro.
it's
But
exactly what.
I'm running errands right now, but yeah, this is a good time. So what I thought it was the book, The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, because what they talk about in that book is like this circle of influence, like what things you can influence and things that are in your control and things that are not in your control. It's like you can think of it as outside of a circle, things that are out of your control. So many, but there's a big range of like people that are hard on themselves and then people that are not hard on themselves. It's all objective and there's like levels to it. Like versus, a millionaire versus like a good friend of mine who like I always have to wake him up sometimes because he acts like he's doing good in his mind and what he compares himself to, he is doing good, but it's like when we want people to do better, like it's like how like sometimes I come off arrogant, bro, like when I'm trying to get my friends to do better and it's like I have other friends like Aaron, and other guys too. They're like, they're killing it. They're holding me accountable. I never have to talk to them that way. But you know what I mean? But all I'm saying is the extreme ownership part, like all people, they don't know maybe what to take ownership with. And it's like just focus on the things you can control. That's really all we can do. And there's so much that we can control. There really is. But that's all I really got to say.
Brother, that's a beautiful end to wrap up the call. I think you said it perfectly. I really do. I appreciate that, share, King. Thank you so much. So, I mean, I think we can end it here. This has been a super powerful call. I know Sean, do you want to share a definition before we jump off? I know we were talking about getting clear on definitions and getting a definition every weekend, but I would love to, yeah, if you got one, please share the definition and let's come full circle here.
I
What's up?
love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So, men, we live in a world defined by definitions, literally. Everything has a definition. If you look behind me, there's a bookcase. It's a bookcase. I'm sitting on a chair. Everything has a definition. And what I want to do really quickly is demystify a definition that I think 99% of people use wrong. And that is the definition of money. So before I go into the definition, what is the legal actual definition of money? If anyone has an answer, just unmute and I'll wait a second. This is a word that we use all the time. It correlates to almost everything that we do. And there's a lot of confusion and there's a lot of psychosis around it, legitimately. So, what is the definition of money?
Dollar bills, bro. What you mean?
Energy transfer.
Yeah. Okay. So, I'm going to screen share really quick because this is really important, gang. So, we walk around and we spend money, supposedly, and everyone thinks that we're spending money. We're not spending money, though, because we live in the United States of America. And when it comes to the United States of America, the definition of money is very clear from the founding fathers. Now, this is from Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution of the United States of America. Okay. So the definition of money, as we read here, is gold and silver coins. No state shall make anything gold and silver coins tender in payment of debts. So I want you to think about this for a second, men. When you open up your wallet, do you have gold and silver coins in your pocket? You don't. You don't have gold and silver coins in your pocket. And if you do, I want to see them. So this is a huge disconnect in our society. We don't use money, gang. We do not use money. Because if we did, as you can see in this definition from our Constitution, it has to be gold and silver coins. Now, if you want to get really technical, the actual factual definition of money is 371.25 grains of fine silver, milled in Spain. So we don't use money. We use something called currency. So in order to take this just one step further, I can't leave you guys hanging. What do we use then? If we're not using gold and silver coins and we're not using money, which we do live in a world that is very strict on definitions, everything is defined, we can find the evidence on what we use every day, which is, what we call dollar bills. It's not actually what they are. So if we really want to know the story, we have to look at the dollar bill itself, which is actually, as we see at the top, a Federal Reserve note. Okay. On every single version, whether it's a single, a 5, a 10, a 50, a 20, a 100, it's all going to have these words on here. It's called a Federal Reserve note. Okay. So you're probably thinking, well, Sean, if we don't use money, what do we use? We use notes. And when we use a dollar bill or a bill, what we're actually using is a promissory note. You can type it into Google as a Federal Reserve note, a promissory note. You have to know the right question to ask and you'll get the right answer. A Federal Reserve note is actually a type of promissory note. Okay. The last phase of this definition is what the heck is a promissory note? This might be shocking to all of you, but a promissory note is evidence of a debt. Okay. So if you type into Google, is a promissory note evidence of a debt? It says yes, it is evidence of a debt. So when we open up our wallet, we swipe our credit card, we swipe our debit card, we pull out cash. It's not money by definition. It's actually a promissory note, which is evidence of a debt. So we're running around spending debt to solve our debts. And if that really clicked for you, you're going to start understanding and comprehending why our society has gone a little crazy, guys. And it's time to stabilize. How do we stabilize? We look at the definitions of what we're doing, and then we understand and we comprehend how to apply it. So to recap, we don't use money. We've never thought of money. You've never smelled money. You've never planned for money. You've never spent money. You've never lost money. You can't. It's impossible unless you have gold and silver coins. What you're doing is you're circulating what we call currency or promissory notes. That's exactly what we do. So I really want you men to think about that, because if we don't understand the words and the nomenclature of what we're doing, then we actually run into the issues that we see every day, which is a lot of issues around these things. And a big part of it is because we don't understand the definitions of things. When we start understanding the definitions of things, we become empowered. And when we become empowered as men, we make even better choices. So thanks for letting me share that, Carlos.
Love it, my brother. I love it. We're gonna have to give you a little more time next time so we can dive a little bit deeper into this. But I appreciate you're a little past the time, so I want to make sure I honor everyone's time here. This call was powerful, full filled with magic. I'm glad that you guys were on here sharing the gems and you guys were actually engaging and made this reciprocal. So I appreciate y'all for jumping on here live. And this is recorded, so we're going to be posting this as well, so people are going to be watching the recording of this as well. Thank you. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day or night, depending on what time it is where you are. And yeah, let's keep going, let's keep growing. It's that season, elevation season.
Take care, everybody. Thanks for being here tonight. Let's see him, gang. Let's see him. Hoo, 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 hoo.
Gains out here, stable as gains.
Take care,
Peace.
everybody.